All right. Enough is enough. We can't take any more of this Dem Debate. Let's get things started here on a Tuesday. Here we go.
Get ready to fight from within. You're about to go behind enemy lines on WNJC.
Roger, 3-2. Goliath copies all. Go ahead. Target is surrounded by multiple firms entering what appears to be a residential area. Requesting permission to engage.
Live from the People's Republic of New York City, you're now going behind enemy lines with Gene Baradelli and Russ Gallo.
And you are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Baradelli, Russ Gallo here on a Tuesday night, our new night here on We're America Radio. Russ, how you doing, pal?
I'm doing all right. What's going on, Brad?
Well, there's quite a lot going on, actually, right now. As we are taping this show, for those of you listening on replay, on a lovely Tuesday evening in the People's Republic of New York City, we are listening somewhat to the Dem Debate on CNN right now. And, Russ, gut reaction for the first hour that you've been listening. By the way, I apologize. This is worse than waterboarding, I bet.
Yeah, I'm stopping listening. I'm not going to catch any of the debate on the replay. If you're missing our show right now on the live feed to watch a debate, shame on you, because it really is quite awful. I'm having a good time watching Donald Trump tweet about it, to tell you the truth, his live tweets.
They're phenomenal, aren't they?
I wanted to vomit a question, I suppose, like within the first hour.
Just one question?
Well, this was the question that made me pretty much turn off the debate. 5 people running for president, Anderson Cooper asked them, okay, so do all lives matter, or do black lives matter?
Oh, come on.
How is that a question for people running for president, and how is the answer not all lives matter? How is that not the answer?
So you're telling me there are candidates up there that said only black lives matter?
Well, I'll tell you what. None of them said all lives matter. And I know you thought Webb might have said it, but he didn't. They all skirted the issue, except for Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders came out and said black lives matter.
Well, you know what? Okay. Total strategery, right? That's Bernie Sanders' only way to win. He's got to pander to everybody and anybody. And he's got to pull minority voters. Remember when everybody said that Bill Clinton was the first black president of the United States? I mean, this is it for him, man. He's got to do it. He's got to try to get as many voters as he can.
Why don't we recap who's actually on that stage? Because it's actually quite shocking when you look at these guys. First of all, before we mention their names,
I got it really quick.
Before you mention their names, the progressive, hip, new age Democratic Party has 4 old white men and an old white grandmother up there. Go ahead, name them.
Well, it's Hillary, Bernie, and the Three Stooges, right?
Hillary, Bernie, O'Malley, who was the mayor of Baltimore, if Baltimore still exists.
I'm hearing a lot of diversity right now.
Lincoln Chafee, who was a Republican at one point.
And an independent as well.
And then an independent, and now a Democrat.
My, oh my.
Wow. And then Jim Webb. Oddly enough, out of that group of people, seems like the most level-headed guy on the stage.
Jim Webb. Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like the most level-headed one, really, out of all of them. Except he keeps crying every 2 seconds that, I haven't had a chance to speak. Everybody else is talking more than me. Jim, you're polling at 0.000000%. You're not going to get that much time to speak, my brother. We all want to hear from the major candidates. By the way, Gene,
did he get his wife to vote in the poll for him?
I don't think anybody from his neighborhood, his block, or anybody got called because he has zero. He's shown up 0 in the polls.
But with a 4% margin of error, by the way.
My impression of these characters on stage, by the way, they're all afraid to throw a jab at Hillary. I get the impression that these four losers are going to actually vote for Hillary.
No, come on. They're running for the presidency of the United States.
No one will differentiate. Anderson Cooper, I'll give him credit. He's asking fairly tough questions, but he's actually being much more fair to the Democratic candidates than Fox News was to the Republican candidates.
I'm shocked.
And I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'm saying more fairly. Anderson Cooper's job tonight is not to expose Hillary for the demon that she is. It's not to expose Bernie Sanders for the basically cat's delicatessen worker that he sounds like. It's not his job to expose these people.
Okay, I gotta say it now. Doesn't he remind you of Jackie Mason, the comedian? The old Jewish comedian?
He's not as clever. Jackie Mason was a clever guy. Bernie Sanders reminds me of a guy who will sell you like a dill pickle in cat's delicatessen. Like, that's who Bernie Sanders is to me.
Wow. And that's the person who wants to be your latex salesman.
He's from Brooklyn, by way of Vermont now. A carpetbagger in Vermont. Wants to lead the country. He's a socialist, but he doesn't call himself such. He's a democratic socialist, whatever the hell that means. There's just so much here. I was actually taking notes throughout the first hour.
Wait. Wow, you took notes? Is there anything to take notes about?
There really isn't. Everything was so rambling and out of control. You actually don't need to watch the debate to comment on it because everything they're saying is predictable. Everything. Believe it or not, they're blaming Bush for income inequality.
Well, it worked so well last time around, right?
Income inequality in this country is being blamed on Bush. They're not counting the fact that President Obama's been in office for 7 years. They're not counting the fact that the first few years, President Obama had a Democratic Congress.
They're not counting the fact that in the first 4 years of those last 7 years, Hillary Clinton was part of that administration.
No. So, it's still Bush's fault.
Well, why not? I mean, he's done so much over the past 7 years to stop the progress here of the great American society.
Bernie Sanders said he had enough of the emails. He doesn't want to hear anything more about Hillary's emails. Does that sound like a guy who's serious about running for president?
I can't believe that line. Apparently, this shows how out of touch Bernie Sanders is with the American people.
Does Bernie Sanders know what an email is the question. Can we get there?
It comes through the air or something. We don't know, Russ.
Through the interwebs.
But you know what? 6 out of the 10 people want to know about Hillary Clinton's emails because they all think she's untrustworthy, dishonest, liar. Those are the words that came up the most in association with Hillary Clinton, according to CNN in their pre-show.
And Anderson Cooper threw it out there, rightfully so, when they said they tried to poo-poo this as no big deal. He said, with all fairness, you're under an FBI investigation. This is kind of a big deal.
And, of course, she did not want to answer anything about that, right? Blame the Republicans. That's the tactic. When in doubt, it's a vast right-wing conspiracy. It's been working for the past 20 years, plus, actually. Why not just keep going with it?
Speaking of blaming the Republicans, let's talk about Lincoln Chafee for a second, please. No one else is, so we might as well do it. Lincoln Chafee is exactly what's wrong with a good number of Republicans in Congress now. John Boehner wasn't quite a Lincoln Chafee, but when you listen to a guy like Chafee speak, and if you really want to torture yourself, like Gene mentioned earlier, go ahead and watch this debate and listen to some of the things Chafee's saying. But the guy was a rhino back then. He said he was a liberal Republican, which I don't know what that is. Then he said something like he's a progressive Republican, independent. Now he's a Democrat. Now he's a moderate Democrat, whatever that means.
Yeah, you're no Mike Bloomberg, my friend. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So, Lincoln Chafee was a rhino. There's lots more. Thank God he switched over to the Democratic Party, and I wish that a few more would. Stay strong on this speaker debate. We got to get a conservative in there. Freedom Caucus, do your thing. Let's get back to the Democrats.
But let's get back to Mo, Larry, Curly, Shemp, and Hillary. And you all know which one is Shemp, okay, guys? That's definitely Bernie. Just from the things that I've been watching, while you've been watching the debate, Russ, and again, you deserve like a Purple Heart just for doing that. I've been following the Twitters a little bit on the way over to the studio here. And Ari Fleischer had a great line. I'm going to paraphrase it here, but he's basically saying that Hillary Clinton is the focus group candidate. All of her positions have been vetted, have been gone through, polled, repolled. Frank Luntz has called up and said, hey, Hillary, you need to do this. So all of her answers have been clearly tailored, rehearsed for a wider audience than the Dem Debate. Bernie Sanders is obviously the crackpot of the group. Vermont, known for its cheddar and its crazy.
I might beg to differ, Gene.
Really? That's what I've been seeing on the Twitters.
Listen, Bernie Sanders, certainly a crackpot. I'm not taking that away from him.
You don't like the cheddar and the crazy line out of the Vermont? You don't like that?
He's a crackpot on a shelf of cracked pots. I mean, none of them are coherent and none of them are sane. Bernie Sanders does not seem that far out of the Democratic mainstream. And if you look at his poll numbers, a man who is running as an openly admitted socialist is beating Hillary Clinton, a Clinton, in the first few primary states. That is astonishing. That is so revealing about the Democratic Party and where its base lies. And maybe not so much the base anymore, the majority of the party where it lies.
That's a scary thought, Russ. To say that a socialist, someone who admits on the debate stage that he is anti-capitalist, admitted it freely on the stage, you're saying that he is not so far from the mainstream of where the Democratic Party is currently today.
And this is why I believe that DNC chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz,
That witch,
the president and member of the Home Perm Association, is brilliant in my view. The more you let these people debate, she's limited the debates and she's delayed them for as long as possible. The more you put these maniacs on stage, the less likely it is that any of them are going to win the presidency in the general election. It is impossible. I guarantee you, and mark this down, people, that Donald Trump, Ben Carson, Carly Fiorina, by the way, all of which are beating Hillary Clinton in the latest polls head-to-head nationwide, their numbers get a boost after this Democratic debate, after the candidates are somewhat exposed for the maniacs that they are.
You know, we got a chat room going right now during the show live here on We Are America Radio, the number one political talk station on live365.com. We're number one in government. We're also the fastest growing internet radio platform on the interwebs today. During the chat right now, we got people saying that Bernie Sanders may be a crackpot, but compared to the rest, he's the one who sounds the least idiotic. And I have a theory about that, Russ. By the way, shout out to my boy Khaled, who I grew up with here in Brooklyn, who actually said that to us. One of my longest personal, dear, longtime friends.
I'm sorry, Khaled.
Wow, that was horrible. Here's what I think about that. Bernie Sanders is probably the only candidate up on stage that's believing his own BS.
That's the truth. He actually when he talks about, I hate corporations, Bernie Sanders believes that. He does hate corporations. When he says, I hate big banks, he does. And he'll work to destroy capitalism in this country. But when you look at a person like Hillary Clinton, she don't hate big business. She don't hate corporations and banks. The global Clinton initiative, where do they get their money from? Who pays Hillary hundreds of thousands of dollars to speak? It's not the average poor African-American Black Lives Matter idiot protesting somewhere. It's big business. It's a bank. It's a corporation. It's a foreign government. She don't hate these people. Bernie does.
But you know what? I think it's the Russ Gallo School of Politics in the reverse. When you put someone up there who's a true believer on stage, people are going to resonate to that because they appreciate the genuineness in a sea of fakery. And I think that when you pick a wedge issue like income inequality is for Democrats, you win on that.
Income inequality.
Let's talk about that phrase for a second.
So, again, they blame Bush for this. Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton. They blame George Bush. President Obama for 7 years has done what on this issue exactly? They said that there was
not a whole lot.
Hillary Clinton said that she wants to be elected to help heal the racial divide in the United States. what did the black president do for the last 7 years about the racial... Did he make it worse? Did he make it worse?
Absolutely made it worse.
So he did. So...
Well, blame Bush.
How are the Democrats going to run before the American people saying that the Democrats deserve another crack at the White House when the guy they've had in there, all the mess that the country is in right now, all the messes we have, were caused or exacerbated by President Obama, but the Democrats now have the solution? How could that even be believable? How is that a plausible campaign tactic, if you will?
Because they truly believe, or at least they're portraying, that they're right and everybody else is wrong, and that we are on the right track. You see, folks, this election is very easy once you think about it. Democrats want to stay on the same track. Republicans want to change course to a different way. If you've lived here for the past 7 years, you'd understand how incredibly stupid Democrats are for taking this tact. That's why I think, and I'm calling it now, Republicans taking back the White House. They're going to have all three branches of government for at least 2 years.
They will, and in those 2 years, if we have a Boehner-type speaker, we'll do nothing, and we'll lose Congress. And then, yay.
Which is a whole issue in and of itself, by the way.
But I want to just, a few more tidbits from the debate that I caught that I thought were worth mentioning.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
So, Bernie Sanders. Let's get back to him for a minute. This is painful, by the way. Do you realize this, people? Painful to even talk about
painful
these maniacs.
For you, my friend. I can't believe you still did that, by the way.
Bernie Sanders, that Brooklyn rat that he is, was a conscientious objector during the Vietnam War. Yet he wants to be the commander-in-chief of the greatest military in the history of mankind. Somebody do the math and tell me how that adds up, please. I'll wait.
How do you have your military credibly follow the orders of such a commander-in-chief is what I want to know.
A conscientious... And then Webb, the lackey that he is up there, was a Marine in Vietnam, was the Secretary of the Navy, was asked about that by Anderson Cooper, and he pretty much dodged it. Because I think they all made a pact not to attack each other. That's a legitimate question that was raised by Cooper. How could you lead the military if you were a conscientious objector? He talks about coalition building. Didn't this president, doesn't he keep saying in Syria, a war against ISIL? What the hell is ISIL, by the way? It's ISIS. There's a 16-nation coalition. What does that mean? Can anyone name some of these nations for me and tell me what they've done?
See, now you told me this during the show prep. I'm trying to figure out who did what here.
Please tell me. Name any of them. And tell me anything that they've done.
Yeah.
Again, I'll wait.
Yeah, we'll wait. I can't name anything about him. Another comment from the chat room. Sanders reminds me of the white version of Ho Chi Minh. That was a great comment right there. What do you think about that, Russ? And again, I'm deferring to you because you were the one subjected to at least an hour, probably more, of this whole debate. The white version of Ho Chi Minh. And by the way, this is coming from someone of Asian descent, so stop your cards and letters.
Wow, Gene. All
right, I gotta equivocate here just for a second.
That was pretty sad. I don't know if he's reminding me of the white version of Ho Chi Minh, to be honest. He reminds me of a lot of other things that I'm not going to say. He's an old, bumbling fool. He's running for president. The man, I don't think, has combed his hair since he started campaigning. He likely is wearing the same suit that he's worn at several events this week. It's astonishing to me, again, that the Democratic Party, the progressive party that they claim to be, the modern, hip party that President Obama tried to claim that the Democratic Party has become, there's 4 old white men and an old white grandmother up there leading this party right now. Astonishing.
You know, one thing I want to talk about, Russ, there were some questions early on that I was listening to about the Second Amendment. And the NRA, of course, was invoked as the big boogeyman of stopping gun control, and they're responsible for all the mass shootings of the world. And of all the people up there, Jim Webb was the one that actually said something different than everybody else, and it was not really so much a gun control message. He was actually talking about letting law-abiding citizens have their guns. 1 out of 5 on the Democratic side, which seems to be about right for the ratio within the Democratic Party about the gun control issue. So in that sense, it's representative. But man, oh man, every single one of them was just nuts when it comes to this gun control issue that they're trying to push on the American people.
I do not trust Jim Webb or any Democrat, period, the end. Well, not period, the end, because I want to say some more stuff. So here's why. And we talk about this locally all the time. Even if you were to get guys like Jim Webb into the Congress, which he was a senator. Okay, so even if you have guys like that, who's their leadership? Who was the leadership in the Senate?
Right now it's...
No, who was it?
Oh, who was it? Harry Reid.
It was Harry Reid. Who's the leadership in the House for the Democratic Party? Nancy Pelosi. So you could have some moderate Democrats in the Senate and the House, but who leads them? Anti-gun, anti-capitalist, anti-religion, pro-killing babies and selling their body parts, pro-higher taxes, pro-big government, anti-United States military, pro-illegal immigration leadership. That's who leads the party. So you can never trust a guy like Webb, whatever he says on gun issues. He voted for Harry Reid to be in the leadership of the Senate. And so does every supposed moderate, if there are any left, in the House vote for people like Nancy Pelosi. It's only the Republican Party that can't get their act together when they win majorities and actually get conservative leadership. It's only the Republican Party that refuses to get conservative leadership when they win these elections.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to have more news and views from the Dem Debate. And we're also going to talk about an article that Russ Gallo wrote on our blog, www.behindthemillionsradio.us. And as we go to break, I just want to let everybody know that apparently one commenter in our chat room thinks that Bernie Sanders is heads and shoulders above the rest. Oh, wait, no. That he should use head and shoulders because there might be a little bit of a flaking issue during the debate. I don't know about all that. Gene and Russ, Behind Enemy Lines. We'll be back right after these brief words from a couple of sponsors.
This Save Us Chuck Minute is brought to you by Australian Dream Arthritis Cream. My fellow Americans, good old Hillary Clinton seems to have misplaced 2 whole months of emails that coincide with the events in Libya. That, or she didn't send a single email for 60 days. What an odd coincidence. It goes along with the thinking that if there's no body, there's no murder. And Hillary did a great job of getting rid of that body before anyone knew where to even look. In the midst of this, General David Petraeus' resignation and misdemeanor conviction is back in the news. What happened to Petraeus and the ridiculous double standards that's playing out with Hillary brings up some questions. Was it just a smear campaign on the part of the Obama administration to batter Petraeus enough to keep him out of the presidential run? That certainly would help Hillary's 2016 bid, which was predicted after she lost the first time. So, here's to history repeating itself. I'm drinking orange juice. I'm Chuck Woolery. You want to hear more? Get my new podcast, Blunt Force Truth, now at iTunes and Stitcher, or visit bluntforcetruth.com.
Are you among the 64% of Americans who believe our country is going in the wrong direction? If yes, then eVoiceAmerica.com is the political take-action site we've all been waiting for. And it's really free. eVoice America provides your personal list of elected reps every time you log on. This makes it so easy to email your opinions and e-votes on top issues directly to each of our D.C. elected representatives. eVoice then publishes our e-vote majority percentages on top issues to each member of Congress and the media. Now, for the first time in history, we can know what millions of American citizens are telling Congress. No more gridlock. Join the new American majority using eVoiceAmerica.com, putting Americans in control of Congress. Visit eVoiceAmerica.com today. It's free and easy to use. That's eVoiceAmerica.com.
Hey everybody, Gene Baradelli here, and for those of you who know me, who have met me at a conference around the country, or have just even seen my photo online, you know I'm not the most fit guy in the world. In fact, exercise and I are not good friends at all. But I'm starting to do it more, and I'm starting to eat right, and I'm going to start taking Diabetics from Green Turtle Bay Vitamin Company. Diabetics is the first FDA-authorized multivitamin supplement for diabetics and for those like me who are predisposed to diabetes and have difficulty absorbing nutrients. Diabetics contains ingredients not included in multivitamin formulas for the general public and is unique for people like me who have diabetes running in their family. So I'm going to start eating right, I'm going to start taking diabetics, I'm going to start exercising more, and I'm going to take you on this journey with me. That's Diabetics with a K, one of the many great supplements from Green Turtle Bay Vitamin Company. For more information, check out www.energywave.com.
Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air.
Gene and Russ, back behind enemy lines, and the crazy quotient today, Russ, is just off the charts. It's just absolutely nuts watching this debate. I mean, my God. Okay, tell us how you did it. How were you able to actually sit there, not move, and listen to what these people were saying?
It's nearly impossible not to get nauseous. Let me talk about the first bit of hypocrisy. It came right from the jump from Bernie Sanders.
Absolutely.
Debate opens up, and he starts complaining about the disastrous decision in the Citizens United case, which has made, super PACs, and he claims political corruption rampant from campaign contributions. My question to you, counselor, is this, Mr. Berdelli.
Uh-oh.
How come when the Democrats like a Supreme Court decision, that decision is labeled settled law, like abortion? But how come when a decision they disagree with comes down the pipe, it's disastrous, it was Republicans that somehow did it, it was Supreme Court nominees picked by Bush who did this for the evil Republican Party, even though the super PACs overwhelmingly support Democrats as well? How do they get away with this?
It reminds me of some news that I saw last week, Russ, about an FEC filing for a political action committee that was against campaign finance. It's just totally nonsensical and moronic. It's one of those things where you just can't explain it. Yes, they hate the law, but they're going to take advantage of it left and right as much as they can. It's like someone going to Congress and saying that global warming is settled science, but yet for the past 12 years, there's been no global warming whatsoever. And that actually did happen in the past week as well. So the fact that it's crazy doesn't stop the Democrats from still pushing it, Russ.
I definitely want to do a global warming show again. Every once in a while,
the science is settled. We're not doing another global warming show, Russ.
One,
it's settled. Listen, Al Gore said it. He told me so. He wouldn't lie to me.
Let's talk about Hillary Clinton for a second here. I know we're jumping all over.
Can we?
Can we? Madam Clinton.
I believe she likes to be called Secretary.
Secretary Clinton, shortstop for what's the town upstate she lives in?
Is she in Chappaqua?
The Chappaqua Brawlers, whatever softball team she's on. Mrs. Clinton, you recently did a piece where you are talking to young college-aged women saying, you deserve to be believed if you say you were raped. Now, I get it. There's a war on men, and that's what you like to do, the war on men, right? So, if those young women deserve to be believed if they say they were raped, what about the countless women that have accused your husband of raping them? Do they not deserve to be believed?
And what about the staffers that claim that they covered it up and then later regretted it and came public with it, and you are now calling crackpots? I believe Catherine Willey would fall into that category.
And Jennifer Flowers and several others who claim that they were either harassed, groped, or raped.
Yes, what kind of example is Hillary Clinton to be a soldier for the war on women?
This is clearly a war on men.
But isn't this clearly also a zero credibility issue? Here you go, Russ. This should be a simple one for anyone who's running for president. Name me one issue that Hillary Clinton has been credible on in her political career.
The reset with Russia for 500, Gene.
The answer is incorrect.
But wait a minute. She was asked about that tonight, and her answer was, well, back then it was President Medvedev, whatever the hell his name was, and we were doing lots of good things with him.
Wasn't he a right-winger for the Rangers, Medvedev? Never mind.
What she forgot to mention was that this guy that was the president at that time, Putin was the prime minister, and he was still controlling the country. Does anyone not remember when President Obama, before the election of 2012, was on stage with Putin. No, Medvedev.
Yeah.
And leaned over and said, after this election, there'll be a lot more room for flexibility. What did he mean by that? I don't know. Russia now controls the Middle East. We made a deal with Iran to nuke them up. Russia invaded Crimea. And there's been no American response whatsoever. Now, I'm not advocating an American military response against the Russians. I'm just pointing out how dangerous it is when you put our national security in the hands of people like Barack Hussein Obama and Hillary Rodham Clinton.
It's really, really scary out there. I mean, we've documented on past shows how the Obama foreign policy has made the world a much more dangerous place than it was before the Obama nation.
Now, what is Hillary's, according to her latest position in this debate?
Yeah, the position du jour, let's call it.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. So, what is her latest position on what should be done in Syria?
Well, let's just wait till we get the poll numbers, and then she'll tell us what her position is on war in Syria.
Well, what she wants to do is set up no-fly zones in Syria. Who's flying in Syria right now, Gene?
I believe that would be the Russians, Russ.
So, will the United States Air Force be enforcing a no-fly zone under the new Clinton administration against Russia?
Unless we're getting Tom Cruise to fly inverted over them and giving them the middle finger. I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon.
So she's willing to risk war with Russia.
Russ, you're living in a Cold War era policy. You got to stop blaming this boogeyman that's Russia. Oh, wait, no, Mitt Romney was right about that too, wasn't he? My bad.
He was right about that. Russia was our greatest threat, and Barack Obama laughed at him back then. Because Barack Obama knew that there was going to be a Russian reset button. I have something to say about him afterward. Go ahead, Gene.
Okay, I just got to do really quickly that we are at halftime here on Behind Enemy Lines. I'm Gene, he's Russ, and while we got you listening, check us out on the web at www.behindthenemylines.radio.us during our live shows, which is now on Tuesdays at 10 p.m. on We Are America Radio, the number one political talk station on Live365.com. We got a listen live page. We got a chat room going. Check it out on Tuesdays at 10 p.m. Check out all the great stories. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. And please check out the official Brooklyn Young Republicans, the place where this show came from, at www.brooklynYRS.com. Let's get back to your point, Mr. Gallo.
Gene, did you catch any of the 60 Minutes interview with Obama?
No, I had more important things to do, like clean my bathroom and, I don't know, there was this one screw that was like bothering me on.
It was
in
actually pretty damn good, I have to say. So if anybody's bored,
Really?
I'd rather watch that again than the
Explain.
debate. Obama pretty much got grilled, and it was the first time I've ever seen him get grilled. And remember, Obama's been on the O'Reilly Factor and other shows. He's never really had a tough time.
From O'Reilly. Come on.
O'Reilly's a loser. So he's never really gotten grilled like this. And I was shocked because that's a CBS show, and they grilled him. But one of the questions that they asked him, which I was intrigued by his answer, was about Hillary's emails. And he said it was a major issue. He also said that he had no idea that she had her own server, which I don't understand that, Gene. The President of the United States has to converse with the Secretary of State via email at some point. Has to. He didn't notice that the email address was like Hillary@Clinton.com.
At like Juno.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, something like that.
Did he not notice? Like, how is that even how stupid are the American people that they hear these responses to questions and take them at face value, the answer, without doing any research, any independent thinking? How is it possible that the President of the United States did not know that Hillary Clinton was using a private email?
Well, you know, Russ, he just found out about it by watching the news, and he was shocked when he heard the news about it. Isn't that always the thing with President Obama? Anytime something happens, whether it was Solyndra, Fast and Furious, all the other scandals that were going on for so many years that we can just rattle off ad nauseum, wasn't his response always, well, I just found out about it through either reading the
Oh, yeah,
New York
just found out about
Times
just like you. I just saw it on the news.
Yeah, I saw it on the news. Come on, man. How dumb do you think we are? It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I just want to know if Donald Rumsfeld had a private email. Secretary of Defense under George Bush.
We'll try to get him on the show and find out for you.
You know, if he had a private email, and I don't know, him and his wife made millions of dollars giving speeches in foreign countries while he was the Secretary of Defense, and it turns out that the private email server was in his basement, and then when he left office, he wiped the server clean, and then ran for president. Do you think it would be the same, Gene? You think if it was Dick Cheney, we'd have people on stage saying, yeah, we've had enough, we don't want to see the emails? Give him the benefit of the doubt.
Well, let's put it this way. I mean, think about just on a state level what Chris Christie went through the whole Bridgegate thing that ended up being totally cleared on.
For those of you guys who didn't follow that, let's just briefly fill the people in.
Give a comparison of the two, Russ.
So, Governor Christie, the fool governor from New Jersey, Republican supposedly, I guess.
Shout out to our friends at WNJC 1360 AM, Philadelphia's Renaissance Station, based in the state of New Jersey.
At some point years ago, some staffers on Governor Christie's staff were accused of orchestrating a lane closure on the George Washington Bridge, which resulted in traffic jams in a little town called Fort Lee, New Jersey. Yep, that's the scandal right there. And the Democrats, MSNBC, had wall-to-wall coverage for months, and I think they still talk about it every now and then, trying to basically say that Christie, what did he know and when did he know it? A lane closure on the George Washington Bridge.
That caused problems for a mayor because they didn't kowtow to Chris Christie, supposedly. That's the theory.
That's the theory. None of it's ever been proven. As far as I know, there was no FBI investigation.
Think about the millions of dollars that was spent on that. And now extrapolate that to your Rumsfeld example and what would have happened if Donald Rumsfeld had a private email server. Wow, we were talking about multi-layers of scrutiny at the executive level, by agencies, at the legislative level. There'd be lawsuits going on left and right. It'll be absolutely nuts.
There's a little conversation going on in the chat room, which I do.
I want to get to that because I've been monitoring it myself, Russ. Why don't you go ahead and
I'm not going to mention exactly what they're saying, but I want to just touch on this guy. I thought it was kind of brilliant. So, President Obama, in the 60 Minutes interview that I was talking about, basically said he's airdropping munitions and weapons to who the hell knows, really. I mean, does anybody know where this stuff is going now? I thought the Democrats believed that guns were not the answer. Why doesn't Syria or the United Nations just pass some laws banning weapons in Syria? Why is the theory that if you drop guns to the quote-unquote good guys that are in Syria, somehow that will be a good thing? But in the United States, there's no correlation there between those two views. That good guys with guns are not a bad thing.
I
don't understand it.
I got nothing.
I mean, if we're going to follow the Democratic logic, then why don't we just help empower the government there to ban guns? And that should stop ISIS. We'll ban beheadings and guns.
We banned drugs, didn't we? And that stopped all drug use and the drug trafficking and drug economy in America, right? I mean, that solved that whole thing. Yes. Oh, wait, no, it didn't.
Drugs are illegal, so they're impossible to get. That's true. So we'll make guns illegal.
Let's just ban everything so that way we know that we have nothing else to do and that'll put all legislators out of work. No, it doesn't work.
By the way, what's the latest trend? And we have some Jewish listeners in the audience tonight in the chat room. What's the latest? Here's a trivia question. What's the latest terrorist trend in Israel these past couple of weeks? Anybody following the news?
Why don't you go ahead and tell us?
It's stabbings. Palestinian terrorists are pulling. I just watched the video earlier on the news today. It made me almost sick to my stomach.
Wait, that's it. I understand. I'm sold. I'm sold right now. Ban all knives. That'll get rid of it, right?
But it proves a good point. You ban. The video. You have to watch this, guys. Google it. Whatever you have to do to find it. It's a car bashes into a bus stop. The terrorist jumps out and starts stabbing women and everybody else standing over there. And then he is finally taken down with someone with blank. What do you think it was?
Nail file.
Incorrect.
A shoe. They like throwing shoes over there.
They do like throwing shoes, but this was a Jew with a gun. And that's a good thing.
There you go. There you go. By the way, update from the debate. Just want to bring it back to what we originally started talking about here. Hillary Clinton, according to the New York Times, as of 2 minutes ago, 24 minutes, 7 seconds. Bernie Sanders, 23 minutes flat. O'Malley's got 13 minutes, close to 14 minutes. Jim Webb, 13 minutes and 4 seconds. And Lincoln Chafee, 7 minutes and 39 seconds.
By the way, why when I said Jew with a gun, you made like a weird face?
I didn't make any weird face. I don't know what you're talking about. Stop trying to draw up old wounds here. Anyway, so that's what's going on with the debate. I got to ask you one question, Russ, about O'Malley. I just want to go back to the debate just for a little bit. I know we've been going off on a couple of tangents here, mainly because we're bored.
The debate is
we're bored with the debate.
Astonishingly boring, but go ahead.
Martin O'Malley, former mayor of Baltimore, former governor of Maryland. Did he have anything to say about the whole Freddie Gray thing and all that stuff? I actually checked out a part of the debate on that, and he was touting his record as the mayor of Baltimore of actually bringing down arrests.
Yes, you notice how he carefully crafted that, right?
Yeah, they were at an all-time high in 2003, and then they leveled off.
So you see the way the Democrats operate. We've brought down the number of arrests.
Yeah, I thought that was a great line that Dems just glossed over. When you bring down arrests, doesn't that mean that it doesn't necessarily bring down crime?
Like, I have stepped on 10 less cockroaches in my apartment last week. Does that mean that there are not cockroaches in the apartment? I just stepped on 10 less. Like, I don't want to lose anybody. Like, is logic in America, is that something that's still taught or understood or practiced anymore? Because he dropped the number of arrests while he was the mayor in Baltimore, that's not an indicator that the amount of crime went down. Am I like crazy here?
I don't think you're crazy at all. Another great line I remember from the debate as I was listening to it in the first hour, they asked Jim Webb about his opinion on affirmative action. And he actually went on record, I couldn't believe this, he went on record to say that he was for affirmative action for black people, but not for minorities.
Oh.
You remember this line? And he said,
that's good.
And then he started talking about the white people in Appalachia. I see. I use my non New York diction right there. Appalachia.
Well, that's smart though.
And he said that they need help too.
No, they don't.
They don't need help.
They're represented on that stage as 4 white men and an old white lady. That's perfect.
But I just found it striking. It was the pandering.
I actually have that in my notes. This is a pandering session. You name the fringe group or minority group, and the Democrats will pander. That's it. It's simple.
Because
Black Lives Matter or all lives matter. How is that a freaking question?
That's their only path to victory.
A few of them said... Well, Bernie Sanders said global warming is the greatest threat to national security right now. I mean... Does that tell you all you need to know about this man?
Oh, jeez, Lou.
He wants the keys to the U.S. military, but global warming is the greatest threat that we face right now.
The conscientious objector wants to battle global warming with our military.
Hillary Clinton said that nukes are the greatest threat against America. Now, while that argument probably could be made, you were the Secretary of State for this administration, not when the Iran deal happened. But I'm sure you had part in it before you left office, setting some of it up. But either way, this is your man in the White House. John Kerry's your buddy who's the Secretary of State now. If nukes were such a big threat, then why are you against being aggressive with Iran? Why are you against being more aggressive with the Chinese and the Russians? Why was your husband against being aggressive with the North Koreans? If you truly believe, Mrs. Clinton, that nukes are the greatest threat to American national security, then why are you not finding any things I mentioned?
You know, as we're talking about Hillary Clinton, I just want to bring up a quick programming note that in the coming weeks, actually, probably by the end of October, we're going to be bringing you an exclusive interview with Roger Stone, the former campaign advisor for Donald Trump, who recently wrote a book about Hillary and Bill Clinton, talking about issues of spousal abuse by Hillary Clinton towards Bill. Look for that interview in about 2 weeks, folks. We're excited to bring it to you here on Behind Enemy Lines Radio. And when we come back from another quick break, we're going to go into our final thoughts on the debate as it's winding down, and we're going to talk about Russ's article that he wrote recently on www.behindenemylinesradio.us, talking about Planned Parenthood and what you should do to defund it and where the money should go. Gene and Russ, Behind Enemy Lines, we'll be back right after this brief word from the Reverend Al Sharpton. Yes, I said Reverend Al Sharpton. You'll understand it in a second. Here we go.
The show will be right back. But first, a word from Al Sharpton.
But resist we much. We must. They're all jitty about a shutdown. The tortoise in the race, then co-author of Hubris. U2 lead singer Bono, Fran Drescher, Sigourney Weaver, suspect Jahar Tsarnaev, Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh, the show Rush Lombard hosts Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. Is Mike Muckery yesterday, Antonin Scalia, Kim Kardashian, and the Republican candidates, both Cairo and Benghazi, we rank behind Lavita. First stop, Kazakhstan, to college students in Beijing. He's getting lunch at Chipotle in Iowa. Bain is appropriate. The GOP's tax day giveaway to millionaires. Why was traffic problems email sent? The Environmental Projection Agency and what sequestration has done.
But wait, there's more.
We all know I've had my share of prompter issues. And here's the president meeting with a cola cube. Republicans, Grinches, launching fistful of coal. Copies of the new issue of Charlie Hebdo. He also goes by the name Michael Zahabiba. 26-year-old Nina. Phone. Ray Romano honored David Letterman. He died of accidental asphyxia. Al-Qaeda in Yemen. The start of school has been postponed several times. Massive manhood is underway. Who spoke at a white supremacist convention. You look at the hand you're dealt with, there are not 60 Republicans after a historic. When you hear of ISIS now waterboating all over the map on immigration, did the New England Patriots cheat to get into the big game? NFL analyst and Hall of Fame player Troy Aikens, the writer slamming President Obama for talking with YouTube celebrities. What's the latest tonight in Iowa?
Well, in Ottawa.
And all we can get is an internet show? So what is Behind Enemy Lines anyway?
This is the true story of two friends living in the People's Republic of New York City who work together and have their conversations taped to find out what happens when conservatives stop being politically correct and start getting real. We are Behind Enemy Lines. Watch your wallets. Thursdays at 1 on WNJC, part of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network.
I'm Vito. And I'm Vito. And we're from WNJC's The Vito and Vito Show. Every Friday at 1 p.m., you can hear Vito and Vito bring you the perspectives of two college-age millennial conservatives who are committed to defending the principles of free markets, liberty, freedom, and individualism from Brooklyn, New York. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Vito and Vito Show, and check out our blog posts and articles at vitoandvito.com. Vito and Vito Show every Friday, 1 p.m. on WNJC 1360 AM, Philadelphia's Renaissance Station. In Brooklyn, it's nothing but the truth.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org, brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Behind Enemy Lines. Back on the air.
Gene and Russ, back behind enemy lines. And Russ, before we start heading towards the end of the show here, I want you to tell everybody about the story that you wrote for www.behindemylinesradio.us, because it deals with a common sense solution to actually defunding Planned Parenthood. Get everybody with the background and everybody what your plan is.
It's actually one of the shortest posts you'll ever read. I like writing short blog posts. For those of you guys who are familiar with the Zadroga Act, then you know what I'm talking about. But for those of you who aren't, the Zadroga Act was set up, I believe it was passed originally in 2010, and it was originally proposed, and then it was passed early in 2011, actually, to fund a health care fund for 9/11 first responders and other workers down there at Ground Zero who eventually developed cancers and other diseases resulting from their work at Ground Zero. This has been a very contentious issue, even amongst Republicans, going back to over the past few election cycles. And the reason being is it's quite expensive. I believe it was originally $4.2 billion back in 2010, and the money is set to run out in the next few months.
Yeah, absolutely. It's up for renewal. That's right.
So the Republicans, every time this topic comes up, basically say, we don't have a problem funding something like this, but we need to get control of the debt and deficits and figure out a way to pay for it. Now, I don't think that that's outrageous. I really don't. I think that that's every single thing we spend money on, we should be looking at it through that lens. So here's my common sense solution. If you add up the money we've spent on Planned Parenthood since 2010, that equals roughly the same amount of money we spent on Zadroga since 2010. So here's the solution. Stop funding a criminal enterprise named Planned Parenthood that is conspiring to sell baby parts for profit. Stop funding that with government money, and instead push that funding to fund Zadroga. That is a deficit-neutral plan. Won't add a dime to the debt, and I believe it makes everybody happy. Put that on President Obama's desk. Put that before the Democrats in the Senate and let them vote against funding the Zadroga Act in order to keep funding a criminal enterprise named Planned Parenthood. Put it on the Democrats. Ask Hillary Clinton that tonight, Anderson Cooper. They won't. And it'll never get passed because the Democrats, read the article, there's a pretty explicit picture on there, and I use some more colorful words in my very short blog post about the Republicans and where their head is at in general.
Yeah, you can imagine where Russ put the Republicans' head. Because it's the truth right now. It's very simple. Transfer the money from one to the other. And make the Democrats actually work for their money for once. I mean, come on. It's absolutely ridiculous. And Russ, you just nailed it. It's good to have a Russ rant back on here, by the way.
I know, I'm a little sick, and the Democratic debate didn't help me.
Well, you know, and Hillary's going on saying right now we shouldn't be paralyzed by Republicans. And they're talking about in the context of making the wealthy pay their fair share.
Yeah, because for those of you guys who are not following it, the top 10% of tax of income earners pay somewhere in the neighborhood of like 70% of all income taxes. Like, wake up, people. Wake up. Talk about pay their fair share. They're paying all of it. I want to go back to one last thing, Gene, because I know time is running short.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. You know what? If we can transition into final thought time, let's do that.
This ain't a bad time for it then. So here's my view on Black Lives Matter. Here's my view on Black Lives Matter. It's hard for me not to get angry. Does it even need to be said all lives matter? No. But I'll tell you what lives do matter around the world right now that we should be really thinking about.
Democrats that vote? Oh, wait, no.
Some of them are dead and they vote, so their lives don't matter, I guess. Christians. Christians' lives matter. There are Christians in the Middle East being beheaded. Being beheaded. Their children are being dismembered. Google the videos. It's sickening. There are Jews being stabbed. Jewish lives matter. Even Muslim lives matter. There are Muslims being beheaded and tortured. And I'm getting choked up even talking about this stuff. Those lives matter. Think of the arrogance in this country for politicians to stand up there and pander to a group saying Black Lives Matter. And if you think they're not pandering to a very radical group within the African American community, look at what these Black Lives Matter people stand for. Look at the Million Man March and what Jeremiah Wright and Louis Farrakhan said over the weekend. It's astonishing. And Barack Obama caters to these people. He sat in Jeremiah Wright's church. He's never said a bad word about Louis Farrakhan. You don't believe what I'm saying? Look what they said at the Million Man March. They want race war in this country. Black Lives Matter? No, I don't give a damn about black lives. Because guess what? They're included in all lives. All lives matter. How arrogant would it be for me to say Italian lives matter? That's ridiculous. All lives matter, and shame on any Democrat on that stage that can't say that. Shame on you.
And that's why he's the engine that makes the show go, folks. Russ Gallo, God bless you, man. That was really great. I couldn't agree more. My final thought's going to be pretty simple here, folks. You have now seen the opposition. You now see what they're about. You have now heard what they believe, or in the case of Hillary Clinton, what she believes this week based on polling. Now you know what you're up against. It's time to mobilize, and it's time to get behind those candidates that can win. I'm sorry, Jim Gilmore, George Pataki, Lindsey Graham. Time to go, man. If you don't see the similarities between Lindsey Graham, Jim Gilmore, Jim Webb, and Martin O'Malley, I'm sorry, guys, then you got your head stuck where Russ says it is in his article. It's time to get behind the winner. And the winner could be one of any number of candidates on the Republican side. Right now, Donald Trump, Ben Carson, Carly Fiorina, Ted Cruz broke 10%, even Jeb Bush. Yes, I said it, even Jeb Bush at this point is probably a better option than anything you saw tonight on stage. Time to get busy, people. You have seen the quote-unquote enemy, and it doesn't comb its hair. Let's get going. Let's bring home a win. Russ, you want to add anything to that?
Just two last things, Eugene. You're cracking me up here. I honestly thought I would never be able to vote
and yes,
for...
I'll throw Marco Rubio in there as well, too.
Good. I never thought I'd be able to say I'd vote for Jeb Bush, but after we've seen what you just described, and what did you say about the hair?
We have seen the quote-unquote enemy, and it has not combed their hair.
Yeah, after witnessing this debacle of a debate... even Jeb Bush, I'd much rather have.
You can hold your nose and you can pull the lever for Jeb after what you saw tonight.
My official last comment, though, and I'm going to shut up, Gene, is go back to Black Lives Matter one last time. I forgot to add this into my rant. Black lives do indeed matter. Somebody better tell them that, though, because blacks kill way more blacks than any other race kills them. So, Black Lives Matter, folks. Somebody tell the black community that. That's all I got, Mr. Bergdelli.
Especially in the womb. It is time to shut this sucker down for another week. We'll be back next week at our new time here live on We America Radio, Tuesdays at 10 p.m. You ready to shut the sucker down?
Gene, shut it down. I need a drink after all this.
All right. Make it a double for me, folks. We are out of here. Good night.
Our position has been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.behindenemylinesradio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. Part of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. A rock radio production. Copyright 2015. Back in 7 days. Out.